Hi everyone, how are you today? So, you know, sometimes in order to progress in weight loss or get it really going well, people need to change their minds and get out of their own heads. I know for me, I found that to be true. I had to stop resisting certain things. Um, so here's some analogies. So number one, like let's say, I'm not saying mothers always are 100% right, but they tend to be right a lot, right? And growing up, and they'll tell you certain things, and you're like, oh, that can't be true. And then you find out, oh, you know, actually, my mom was right. Or, and not pushing my religion on anyone, just giving this as an analogy for those of you who are Christians. You know, you find out, you read in the Bible, you listen to the sermons and all of that, and you find out, well, God says that this is the way things should be. And then after a while, you start living your life and you go, start maturing a little bit, you go, God was right. I mean, I know he would be right, but wow, I mean, now I really see God was really right about that. So that's a couple of, hold on a second here. Okay, that's a couple of just analogy says, yes, and then there's, the information about diet, and there are things that you should be doing, but there's got to be a different way. If I just do this special thing, if I just do that special thing, if I just drink water upside down, or I'm just kidding about that, but there just has to be some special way. I can't do it this way. Well, here's the thing. Eating and exercising and working out and all of that requires discipline, and so does doing some of these things that I don't find so sustainable. Some people do, and if you do, that's great, but most people will find that actually exercising, and by exercise I mean movement, and some people can exercise and find that to work out well, but that's a different kind of a burn when you get into, depending on how, if you get into jogging and you get into, your more labored breaths, you're going to have more burn of calories, carbohydrates, and less burn of fat. Whereas zone 2, whereas it's still effort, but zone 1 is zone 2, but especially zone 2, it's effort, but I can still talk to you and record this. Although, yes, I know I sound a little out of breath from time to time because I'm trying to push myself to make sure I get enough, challenge myself a little bit here. But, sometimes you find these people in the gyms, and Chris, Body Mind Spirit, has talked about this too, but I have noticed this a lot, who consist, I mean, they are working hard on those exercise machines, the ellipticals and the treadmills. They're not my friend because, I had quite the accident quite a few months ago. Anyway, but they're going about the same pace. Some people will interval train. That's something, but they're going about the same speed, and they are working so hard, and they're trying to push themselves, and they never look any different. They still, they still look like they have a lot of pounds to lose. And so sometimes people can put so much effort into something, but it's not the best way to do things. It's like it's a beautiful day out and people are on all those exercise machines and the treadmills and all that, or they're walking on the track inside when it's a great day. And I mean, okay, maybe some people have some issues with the sun, but most of us don't. And it's a great way to not only get, some movement, some, getting your heart rate up and burning some fat, but it's also great for, it helps, you get the sun, which helps with your vitamin D and your mood, and of course, exercise and movement in general can help with that. But anyway, sometimes you got to switch it up. I've learned, now today I'm not going to do it. I have Birkenstocks on, and I am not going to do interval jogging. on this particular walk. I might later on put on some tennis shoes and try a interval jog. But anyway, sometimes just doing exactly the same and not changing up the intensity or challenging yourself a little bit more, you're not going to burn the fat that you used to. And the body gets used to certain things, and you got to switch it up. I mean, that is something I have learned over and over again. When I strength train, I have to switch it up, and that has helped me a lot. Now, do I have a long ways to go as far as my body composition? Well, yes, I would say so. I mean, I have made some strides, and there are things that have worked. There's things that are harder for me to do. There are things that I'm learning to do. All of that, but I don't stay with the same exercises all the time. I want to keep with some of them, make sure I know where my progress is. But yeah, I switch that up. And when it comes to eating well, I know, boring, because that's what most people want to hear about. They don't want to hear about the exercise. Sorry guys, yes, you can lose weight without exercise and without strength training, but I'm gonna tell you this, and that is, you're gonna do much better. Your appetite is gonna be under much better control, and believe me, do I know, because I did not have the best metabolism sort of situation as I began to lose quite a bit. It was, I had to learn to walk quite a bit to control my appetite, and it helps my mood and all kinds of things like that as well. Helps me sleep better. That's all part of being able to lose weight. All the sensible stuff, right? All the sensible stuff that people are like, oh, well, I'll get up early and not get as much sleep and get my exercise. Maybe time management situation could be a little bit better than that. Now, I don't know your situation. You could have a very, very tight schedule, and I have no judgment on you for that. But if there's a way of managing things a little bit better, you can tend to be a little more efficient if you, if you get enough sleep and you find a way to get that exercise that helps improve your mood, makes you a little more efficient usually. But you have to figure out how to get things in. Maybe there's smaller spurts, who knows? But anyway, there's that. And then there's the strength training. You think, oh, well, maybe when I get lighter or whatever. Well, here's the thing. If you don't start preserving your muscle, you don't have as much of a metabolism. I mean, you can't burn as many calories because those muscles burn so many more calories than the fat does. So those are really important aspects of something that people don't want to do. Well, some people, obviously there's time. How do you manage your time? Most people aren't like me and they're retired. But even when I worked and I did keep it off, I know, but I would find time to do things. Yes, I was not a parent. So yes, I had more time. That is also very true. But finding a way to do that, there are people that I know who are very busy and they still find a way to get their sleep and get their exercise, and they have children and they have a very, very stressful, long job. Of course, some people, if you're working 80, 90 hours a week, it may be super hard to find time. I totally get it. If you just work ridiculous hours at the moment. Hold on a second. Anyway, you can only do what you can only do, and the diet is the main part of it. If that's all you can do, you can only do what the best you can do, right? But, try to see if you can, manage your time a little bit better. It's just an idea. Sometimes people are retired and say, oh, I have no time. That obviously is an excuse. But sometimes they have things they need to do, and it doesn't mean that they don't help other people and all of that. But still, usually, there are quite a few people for which that really is an excuse. But I understand that's not always 100% the case. So then there's the eating part, and that's the main focus I'm going to go on today, which is, okay, we're always hearing eat right. It's boring. I don't want to do it. Then there's, what kind of eat right are we talking about? Are we buying all the healthy packaged foods that say they're healthy? And don't fall for that. The healthiest foods don't have any labels at all. um, for the most part, unless they're like, milk in a carton, they'll have something on it, but it's just milk in there, and you get what I'm saying. But it's people resist that because it's like, oh well, that just sounds so boring. It must be something else. But it's like learning that look, you don't have to be a great cook. In fact, you can even do this without even cooking at all. There are ways to make that work. But if you can just heat things up in the microwave, even, wash fruit, there are, excuse me, there's yogurt and cottage cheese you don't have to do anything with, and there's, ready cooked chicken. You gotta be careful that it's just the chicken and all that. There are, ways of just getting the burgers only, ways of, there's all kinds of things. And really, how hard is it to cook an egg or cook a hamburger or, cook some chicken or, and add a little seasoning to it? It's really just not that difficult. But anyway, it can sound like, but I don't have this huge variety. Well, there are ways of dealing with that too. I go and find, I go to these other stores I don't usually go to. I don't go to Whole Foods very often because it's like 45 minutes away. There's a Vitamin Cottage in town, and I'm sorry, they call it Natural Grocers. But anyway, sometimes I go there and find some special produce or something, like that. That's really great. And, like, try more guavas, try some passion fruit, try, some, well, I don't really care much for dragon fruit. I found that one out. It's not really my thing. But, oh, these are some really fun oranges, or, the watermelons are in season now, or, and things are seasonal, right? I mean, the cherries come, and then pretty soon the plums and the peaches, and I know, everybody has what they like and what they don't like. I get it. But, try some bison instead of some beef, or try some turkey instead of some chicken, or, if you're into lamb or venison or something like that, or, try, some people do really well with beans and all that kind of thing, and tofu and all that. But, the other thing is that, here's the thing. People think, oh, well, to be protein, it has to be something animal. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. You ask the vegans. They know all about that. It's not just the beans either. If you're eating quality foods, I mean, just pasta, if you have a good pasta and you don't overcook it, especially, that's the best thing to do. Potatoes, things like that, they have a pretty decent amount of protein. They're like, what are they, around 14-15% protein? I mean, there you go. There's, that's kind of a minimum moderate level of protein. And so if you're eating the better stuff and you put some vegetables with them, cooked vegetables often have at least 20% protein in them. So you can get a decent amount of protein that way. There are, lots of, try your spices. There's all kinds of great spices out there. Add a little bit of Parmesan cheese if that's your thing. There are ways of having what you like. And just, if you buy it, it's going to have lots of salt. You don't know how much fat it has in it. There's all kinds of things that just, I never can trust it quite as much. But it takes a little effort, but it just mainly takes more planning. Some people are like, well, I don't have time to cook all the time. Well, some people get into prepping for several days. I prefer fresh if I can. I mean, I'll eat some leftovers and I'll freeze some and take it out and have that or whatever, But there are ways of planning and keeping it better. And does that mean, oh, it means I can't ever have ice cream? Well, if you can control it, I went to the point where I could control it. So, about once a week, if not cheat meal wise, I could, I'll use vanilla or coffee, Haagen-Dazs, and I might have a tablespoon or two if I have, have room for it. And, it works really nicely. Or, I'll have I'll have a Swedish fish or two, especially the bonbon kind. They're particularly good. Hold on. Anyway, it's not like you can't have any, if you're able to control yourself, that's the big thing, right? That's, you have to know yourself. You have to know there's a bunch of things that I don't have in my house because I don't trust myself with them just yet. They have to be when I'm out or somebody's house or something like that. Other things, like, yeah, I have better control of it these days. So it is a lot about discipline. That's the main thing. It takes a lot of discipline to do a plan that, something that's kind of out there, not conventional wisdom of whole foods, processed food, exercise, working out, and not killing yourself, by the way, either way. Because we're not looking to create more stress when we're losing weight. It's already a little stressful to eat fewer calories. But anyway, but the big thing is you might as well have the discipline to eat right, I think. I mean, in my opinion, that's what I've decided, because I'm going to be able to keep it off. And I've learned to enjoy it. I know I keep saying that, but I do. I really, really enjoy what I eat. Do I sometimes want to have a little cake or some ice cream that's, not the, like the Rocky Road kind, or, whatever. Do I want to go to my church's potluck and have, I don't know what they have in it, but it looks good kind of thing, Of course, that's the cheat meal. There's ways of making it fun. It doesn't have to be boring, but it does require discipline and determination to, get healthy. And you'll feel better, and you'll be able to say, my appetite is very well controlled. I don't feel so very hungry because I am getting the nourishment from whole foods that have all the micronutrients in it. If you ever check your chronometer, you'd be surprised how much better it is with whole minimally processed food versus not so much that kind of way. And then it's learning what whole minimally processed foods really are, which you can look that up. But generally speaking, they are not ready-made meals. They aren't all kinds of things with packaging to them. Although there are some things that are sort of okay. And, like there's some things you can go, yeah, all right, maybe I can have try a little bit of this, like a few plantain chips once in a while. Yeah, okay. It's up to you. You have to figure out what works for you. I'm talking mainly to people who have quite a bit of weight to lose, and especially people who are trying to lean out like me. I'm getting to the point where, I have to be more careful. The cleaner I am, the better I do. And I have less of a margin of error these days, so I have to, I'm being extra careful. And not everybody needs to be, like me. But anyway, I'm not telling you have to have this many macros of this, and, this much protein, this much fat, this much carbohydrates. That's not where I'm going. You have to decide what works best for you. But, yes, people who are younger, and some other people sometimes can do it too. Some people can, you can lose weight without exercise. It's true. It's just going to be way better if you can to exercise, or, to get some movement. Walking, maybe you don't like walking, maybe you prefer riding a bike, or, there's lots of other activities. Find something you like. Find an experience that you enjoy, because you'll be able to do it more. But yeah, you don't have to be as strict as I am necessarily, or maybe you need to be. It depends. You have to figure out what works best for you. It is very much something where you have to figure it out. For me, like I've told you before, I do not do well with a lot of protein. I tend to actually gain. Doesn't matter what the calories are, I tend to gain on it. So it's not my forte. I'm much better with the carbohydrates being higher. Most of the time, sometimes I'll lower them a little bit and everything's a little bit higher once in a while, but I don't keep it that way. I go back to the higher carbohydrates. And I know people like, oh, high carb, well, that must mean, some people aren't all into this, are like, okay, well, that's the donuts and the, your cookies and your, potato chips, whatever kind of chips. And no, those are not, people have got to stop calling those carbs. What they really are are, well, besides being junk food, they're mainly fat. So why not call them fats? Because they have more fats than carbs. So why do we keep calling them carbs? I don't get it. But anyway, I'm talking about things that are very, they are primarily carbohydrates. They're, a good 80–90% of the macros within that ingredient, within that food, are carbohydrates. And I don't worry about sugar and honey all that much. I don't have huge amounts of it, but I'll have a soda that's cane sugar once in a while. I like that. So you can treat yourself to some extent. You have to figure out what works for you. But anyway, it sounds boring because it also requires discipline. It's like what you've been told by many who were succeeded worked for them, and you're resisting it. I know I did. So yeah, that's why it's boring. You all have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye-bye.